A very good afternoon. I, Bhumika Tarachandani, present my greetings to one and all present on the day 3 of our webinar series on the theme Circular Economy, a Solution to Achieve Carbon Neutrality, and welcome you all in this very stimulating and instructive exchange of ideas that we are going to witness today on the sub-theme Consumer Preferences and Choices, its role play and effects in achieving circular economy, organized by the NISAG Foundation. The Salk Foundation, which is based out in California with its head office in San Ramon, California, is an NPO organization focusing on energizing teams motivated to do impactful work and create examples for others to follow while reducing human impact on other species we share the planet with. Our foundation supports, communicates, and mobilizes people to bring the change in society, providing the funds, campaigns, and resources to push for aggressive climate action and high-level policies that accelerate sustainable development goals, including measures to address those disproportionately affected by deforestation and plantation expansion. Focusing on customer makes a company more resilient. This statement by Jeff Bezos perfectly captures what the main focus should be on for various organizations if they want to sustain themselves in the long run. Today, lots of new developments in sustainability, resource efficiency, and circular economy are helping the various industries become more environmentally responsible. There has been a rise in studies looking at circular economy from a commercial and technological angle, as well as the studies looking at sustainable development models for businesses and enterprises that are based on the model of circular economy. These analyses are conducted with the hope of elucidating the processes through which entrepreneurs and service providers may commercialize their sustainable products and services. However, for sustainable solutions and innovations to be in society and assure market dissemination, such solutions must be embraced and appreciated by the customers in both consumer and commercial sectors. The success of such solutions based out of circular economy, like that of any innovation, is dependent on the value it can produce for customers and its stakeholders in the market and society at large. Therefore, the most important aspect of commercializing creative ideas is understanding the consumer value from the customer's point of view. To further discuss about the topic, our guest speaker today for the webinar is Ms. ISHITA ARYAN, who is a young urban strategist with an eclectic experience of working at the intersection of urban planning, policy regulation, market intelligence, and business strategy, combining the ethos of climate resilience and circular economy. She has worked across emerging territories in Global South, along with national government, multilateral banks, private investors, FMCGs, and municipalities. She was a management consultant with PwC right before her joining post-graduation in public party at the London School of Economics, where she is deepening her nuances into empirical methodologies for climate choices. She is a campaigner of gender mainstreaming in city planning and policy making. She authored her first book on reinventing safe cities in 2019. ISHITA ma'am, the NISAG team with great enthusiasm welcomes you to this webinar, and now the virtual stage is all yours.
Hi, thank you, Bhumika, and thank you, NISAG team, and thank you everyone present here for your time and making this choice, So this is very encouraging. Let me just share my screen. So someone needs to unshare it so that I can present. Yeah, thank you. Do flag me if it is visible to you, all of it. You can see it?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
So like Bhumika mentioned that I am currently based in London. I am researching in effective climate policy, especially on the empirical nuances of it. So before we move ahead, I just want to bring you a small example. So I'm living in a student accommodation right now, and the energy crisis in UK is really, disturbing and affecting everyone. So the government, its businesses, in fact, the accommodation administration here is trying to, nudge our behavior. So last week, they sent out an email to all of us saying that the flats which consume the least energy, and we are monitoring everybody's consumption, would be awarded And this led to a revolution in our behavior and the way we use electricity, the way the way and the promptness we are showing, in switching off the light and the geysers and everything. So yeah, so when you zoom down to us as in, so we are consuming every moment. We are citizens and consumer at the same time, consuming public good, private good, which are scarce, and some of it are in abundance. And thereon we keep making conscious and unconscious decisions on what we consume, probably what you ate in the breakfast today, where you are studying, the university you chose, your decision to come here to attend this webinar instead of doing something. So there's always an offset going, and it's very dynamic. Your decision to buy a house in certain location, your decision to walk today and not take your car out and not take a metro out, probably all of that is consumer behavior, because you're consuming a modality of transport, or like you keep consuming throughout your day. Yeah. And we often, there are researchers, after this, trying to decode this choice architecture, this thought process, which keeps playing in the consumer's mind. And this is why we are here to discuss, like, what drives our behavior, what drives our decision. Is it truly ours, or are we like tweaked and nudged in a very subtle manner, in a very smart manner, by the government, by the organizations, FMCGs, and all of the players in the landscape, So there's no silver bullet to it, when it comes to, what drives your preference, what drives a consumer preference across segments, for a child, probably for a, somebody like us in our youth, probably the elders, or women. So nobody has the silver bullet. And we can see dynamics of, multiple factors playing at the same time. It can be about the special feature of a product, a design of a product. Aesthetic can be appealing to many. Brand image, so parleji, something which is emotional to us because it comes from the childhood. Availability, if it is near my grocery store, and something which is nicer but away from, the present location I am, probably I wouldn't go and buy that. Also, the speed, coming to the age of e-commerce, probably fast commerce, all of that, and we always compare while we are making choices, and again, there's a whole science behind how the landscape is helping us compare. But most importantly, we are seeing that the price, especially in the global south, price is what dominates the thought architecture. But again, not always, and we'll see how it breaks, how it breaks the notion where price isn't the driving factor. And again, while you saw all of that dynamics of 10 plus factors, probably 100 plus factors in, we also have distortions. Here came your COVID, and it accelerated a lot of things. It accelerated your e-commerce, made it into, a lightning commerce, a fast commerce, a quick commerce, where you were, and today you would ditch walking to your grocery store, rather go hop on a Blinkit and make your choices regarding your consumption. Again, this has increased and accelerated the way we consume. I'm not even talking about what we consume, is it sustainable or not, but just the sheer intensity of our consumption has increased with time. Not just COVID. In fact, taking the example of a geopolitical disturbance, we are all aware the Cold War between India and China, and that affects, right, this geopolitical tension between India and China is driving Make in India. You are abandoning using, Chinese products to a certain extent, like whatever you can afford, especially in that segment. So you would abandon it, buy a handmade diya, which is close to your local economy, and not go for a Chinese light. Probably some of our conscious consumers might do that. And there could be multiple reasons. One is obviously sentiment and emotions to our own country. We are driven by it. Second could be a lot of people are abandoning buying Chinese phone because they say, especially the US segment, they say that there is, there is probably bonded labor and exploitation of Chinese labor in that whole mobile manufacturing industry. Some of the countries are unconsciously and informally putting sanctions and control over fishery consumption from China. So they have stopped buying Chinese fish because China has been exploiting South China Sea, which was supposed to be a shared, seas and oceans don't belong to a specific country. They're shared resources, and it was to be shared by a lot of smaller countries, but China has been exploiting that region and has been overfishing. So yeah, Norway was the first to put an informal ban and control over consumption of the sea coming from South China Sea. So coming back to, the factors of drive, the factors of preferences a consumer places. So as we said, that it's dynamic, it's evolving and constantly changing, and we have researchers around the world trying to study it, every movement, and controlled experiments taking place. I have 3 right now here with me. One is from Istanbul, where surprisingly the store ambience, like how nice the store manager or the salesperson is, affects the choice of the people going to that store. I mean, yeah. But then on the other hindsight, we also see that environment has become a key component while making decision. And this is exactly where it is beating the notion of affordability and price trade-off. And we saw that the first time, like, when it came to the electronic appliances, and people were ditching low-rated electronic appliances and going for a higher star rating. Even we do that when we are especially buying microwaves and ACs, because the cost we are saving on the energy is probably more than the offset or the extra premium you go and pay for buying a better rated starred appliance, right? Even in fact, in China, in a recent survey, they found that consumers are ditching again the consumer goods which came with a hefty packaging, lot of packaging, and it's wasteful, right? So and this gives rise to a segment called as inclusive and sustainable minded consumers. And it's not just about environmental sustainability, but it's also about social sustainability and social responsibility and ethics and economic inclusiveness. We spoke about how the Chinese mobile industry is facing a brunt from the consumers, which are concerned about labor equality and pay parity, because yeah. So yeah. And there's a recent news about Adidas cutting its ties with Kanye West, and he was a billionaire, and now he isn't, because he made a certain remark which was offensive to a certain community, ethnic community, and Adidas is scared of us, consumers like us. What if there's a resentment of such an act and such a deed, and it can affect the company? And so you and I are responsible for if Kanye is not a billionaire today, probably. Yeah. Going back to the consumer behavior. So when you track the journey of preferences, so it zooms down to very small activity and choices we make to larger ones as well. For example, nowadays we are concerned about the food, especially when it comes to food, because it's directly related to your primary health, and you would be checking if it is organic or not, how safe it is it complying with the food safety standards, and you would be buying local products to boost your local economy. Probably you will be ditching buying an extra bag, and you would be carrying your own bag to shopping centers, and you would be probably choosing products which have lesser packaging, so that there's less waste there. I mean, people don't like buying bananas which were wrapped in a plastic film, and it's actually stupid. Banana comes with a natural cover to protect it from the dust and all of the impurities in the world, and why do you wrap it in a plastic? So again, sustainable inclusive customers would ditch a banana packed in a plastic film. Some people are also not up for doing this fast commerce and lightning commerce. It's not inclusive. Again, you are making your delivery boy run at some speed, might cause an accident. So all of this keeps playing important. It builds the dynamics on how we choose across the range of products, whether it's food, whether it's consumer luxury goods, whether it's clothing, whether it's anything, in fact. And our behavior in a manner is driving the whole industry, the market, the supply chain, the reverse logistics. Now the companies are more careful when they're designing products. They're trying to be more circular. When they're sourcing raw material, they are using recycled products, probably. In fact, I remember Coca-Cola, we were in a discussion sometime back with FMCGs, and some companies are in fact thinking of using recycled PET bottles, because it's more sustainable, and there are compliances and regulation coming in picture from the government. You would be aware about environmental producer responsibility. So yeah, regulations again come in picture, and the way you are packaging your product again matters to a lot of consumers. So while it is emotional to a consumer to go and select a environment friendly product, it's also a strategic step for companies to embrace the fact that consumers are awakening, and it does matter to a consumer on the way we think about sustainability and inclusion and ethics. And these are some of the, it's a survey from a very popular agency, and these are some of the most prominent lifestyle changes. I can immediately relate to almost 5 of them. We all have done there and been there. So ditching your single-use plastic, and products which are more manufactured locally, made handmade in a more ethical manner, organic farming, are quite lucrative to most of the segments, especially in an urban area. And these are the 5 areas, especially where your prominent lifestyle changes are happening, especially at home. The way we have started recycling, segregating our waste, and the way we are ditching fast fashion. In fact, some of us would like to wear a cloth which has been used. I mean, there's this whole notion of reusing what do you call as pre-loved products, pre-loved clothing. It's a very booming industry. The way we travel, and I'm a big time campaigner of public transport. So, when it comes to choosing between an Ola or an Uber and a Delhi metro, and I always I always have this statement, like, when you live in a metro and you are not using a metro, what's the point? So yeah, so again, it's the dynamics in my head that I'm also responsible, though it's minuscule, my responsibility and my contribution, but I'm responsible for cutting down the air emission if I use my own private car or an Ola or an Uber, my shopping habits, my diet or eating habits, all of that. And and we can see changes, drastic changes, in fact, at sometimes in some cities, from the consumer side. And when it comes down to the demographics, so yeah, it's a very interesting space. So we are seeing that the younger generation is supposedly more aware and more concerned about their environmental responsibility. And you can clearly see how millennials, especially people from our age group, probably are the most concerned one. That makes me very happy, and it's a hopeful thing. And it comes from the age of the rigor of education we got, and the rigor of environmental components we learned through our education, which is shaping our behavior when it comes to choosing brand, choosing products, and in fact reducing our consumption. But then it's not a rosy picture. It would never be. In fact, there are a lot of barriers and challenges when it comes to the shift. This was again a result from the same survey, which said that most of the people are not interested. It's because they are not aware. It doesn't mean that they aren't educated. They aren't aware of the value of that sustainable shift. Some people said that because it's an individual contribution and the coordination game is poor, probably my contribution means nothing in the larger picture. And it's true, but then yeah, that's where the awareness and education comes in picture. Some people said it's way too inconvenient, but most people, which is especially in the global south, when you come to the emerging and developing countries, most people said that it was way too expensive to opt for that sustainable shift. When it comes to organic food, it's costing me more than the usual food, and I don't see a direct implication of not buying an sustainable food at the moment, so why should I? And it's actually very true, and that's the biggest impediment, in fact, when it comes to the sustainable switch. The products, the sustainable green products or the green blue products, come with an extra cost. That's the green premium. And it's again a vicious cycle, in fact, viscous and vicious both. In fact, because there's not much of a demand, you can't achieve the scale of economy, right? The benefit of having that demand brings down the cost. Not having that demand, again, leads to higher manufacturing cost. Sustainable practices are expensive. They require more, the kind of requirement of resource and ethical labor practice. All of that is again expensive. So yeah, and this is the kind of green premium we deal with today. In fact, it's huge. Starting from, your baby food, probably. Sustainable baby food is probably 20% more, and any sort of food, in fact, it comes with a premium of 20% more. So say if your tomato is for 1 rupee, an organic tomato is for 4 rupees, something like that. And the highest premium is for especially the beauty and health products. I clearly remember a company was selling the same tablet at 4 times the price you would find when you compare it with the normal tablet. So yeah, it comes with a price. And but yeah, but then we are also seeing a shift and willingness from the consumers to pay that extra green premium. And it's all because of this green altruism and green satisfaction the consumer tends to take after doing this noble job. We are all altruistic, man and human being a social animal, we are all altruistic within. And it's just, we need to keep awakening that side of us. So very surprisingly, the number of the percentage of people willing to pay has drastically increased from 50% in 2013 to somewhat around 80% to 2019. And it comes with a sensitive bracket. So people are willing to pay if your green premium, the extra cost, is within the bracket of 10%. If it is beyond, it becomes very sensitive, and your consumer can flicker very immediately if I buy a consumer product or if I don't. So, but then one thing to realize here is that even when we say that they're ready to pay an extra of 10%, there's a condition to it, that they'll only pay it when they're able to understand the value inside it. There has to be a strong purpose. And especially when it comes down to food and medicine and something which we are consuming directly, it is a lot about quality and safety. And yeah, uh, um, quality and safety, and also about, and then comes the secondary notion of how environment friendly it is in terms of responsible packaging, in terms of CSR, in terms of whatever other factors we may consider that it affects. And when we just spoke about the green trust and green satisfaction and the green word of mouth. So if today I say that cycling is the healthiest mode of transport, probably it would make you think, and I know a lot of people are switching to cycling and walking instead of, if it is a convenient distance, instead of just switching, just opting for an Ola, Uber, or any form of shared mobility. So people are in fact showing that sense of green trust and green satisfaction, and it is making them mentally happy and emotionally satisfied. And this is where the companies need to crack the whole dynamics, the nexus, this satisfaction. But like we said, there is always a divide. It's not the global truth. In fact, while in the American context, the States, most of the Americans were willing to pay an extra of 5% or 10% for eco-friendly products. But when you come to the emerging geographies where your major urban population lives, more than 60% probably, this willingness to pay extra green premium is very nascent and rudimentary. It's still evolving. Price for us is still the most sensitive factor, I would say, come what may. If like most of us are concerned about affordability and accessibility first, and then anything else. So what do you do in that case? Especially and there's a clear divide as well between the urban population. So when we talk about all of these green products, green shoes, probably Adidas shoes made out of plastic that too collected from our rivers and ocean, the buyer segment is very thin. It's nothing when compared to the larger population landscape. So what is the way out? And so and there's come the notion of nudging the consumer preference. And I have been in London for some time, and I'm on a spree to explore the effect of carbon pricing. So initially we used to be so careful about the price tags, then came the food labels and how much calories are we consuming, and food descriptive tags. But now we are seeing a rise of carbon tags and carbon levels. So so some of the restaurants in London today have, they have the food menu and they have the carbon, like the footprint, and it's not just like a single number. They would tell you that this is the kind of savings you are doing by consuming this food or this food, and you can quickly compare it. And it talks about saving on resources, not wasting food, using a locally sourced vegetable, using a vegetable which came from an organic garden which never used a pesticide, using less of water, using less of energy, or maybe the way it was cooked consumed less of energy, or maybe new energy, maybe solar energy consumed a better form of energy. So yeah, we are seeing a lot of consumers making choice decisions based on carbon tax, and but again, when it comes down to the percentage, actual percentage in the relative term, it's again at a very nascent stage. But then what is the way out, if you think, so while we, I mean, while both the industry, as in the FMCGs, the beverage companies, sees value in this whole sustainability concept and sustainable product and green product, and consumers also see the same notion, and we are right on the same page. But what is stopping this industry to get accelerated pitch? And it's, again, it's not a very simple equation there. If you want to crack this equation, you have to be consistent and think in a circular manner, because it comes with a constant cycle of empowering your consumer. The more you tell them about the implication, the life cycle impact, or the life cycle cost it comes with, the more you educate your consumers, the better choice they would make. And it comes with, tweak your advertisement, tweak your marketing strategies, and tweak it in a manner that it is sustained, and it caters to different segments of population around geography, around age, around sex, around ethnicity, around everything. And build sustainable governance. It's not just about the product. We often look as a brand as a whole, and never as the product as a single entity. So build a positive image, do good things, get into partnerships. You would see Coca-Cola and PepsiCo and Bisleri in India, because of the EPR regulation in place. Now they are partnering with our municipalities. They are going and collecting waste. Whatever the Coke bottles are left after we consume them, they're helping the municipalities deal with waste. So it's also about, that sustainable outlook, the sustainable governance and sustainable supply chain and responsible supply chain when it comes to consumers making a choice. In fact, I would give you a very nice example of, and so the companies always struggle with, we want to do it, but then it's expensive. It's actually not. It's creative and not expensive. So, and two examples to support it. So Deva is a water and energy utility in Dubai, and they started monitoring consumers' consumption of water, because water is a scarce good, not like us. It's not free there. It is very expensive, even the energy. So they started, monitoring each consumer's behavior, and they started inducing a competition between the consumers. So one who consumes less gets more rebate, and it worked perfectly on the economic equation. They weren't incurring a huge cost. I guess there was some cost, definitely, but not a huge cost. But then they started seeing tremendous results. There were a lot of people who started, saving energy and consuming less of water, mending and repairing their leaky taps, just to be in that good note of the government. Yeah. In fact, in Qatar, they were even more creative. So they did a consumer segmentation of people who were using water in a very excessive manner. In fact, they knew that there was water wastage. And what they did is that they categorized these consumers, which were falling in the wastage, who were wasting the water or energy. They started sending them, emails and SMSs quoting Quran, the Holy Quran, in fact, that Allah says that, if you are consuming more than what you require, it's false, and it shouldn't how it should be. So and consumers were taken aback. It's very sentimental for them. Okay, It's not the Qatar utility saying that you don't waste water. It's very close to my heart. It's my God saying me to consume in an optimal fashion. And they saw tremendous result. They saw like a drastic result in the way consumer consumed water. It's a resource as scarce as that in the Middle Eastern region. So, when it comes to breaking this nexus of and making that shift, a paradigm shift rather, or to a sustainable consumer behavior, I think it's not only about the cost, the extra premium the consumer has to pay, or the extra cost the company has to bear, but it's about how creative we can be, and especially around the emotion quotient, the green satisfaction, the altruism inside a consumer, and how well we are able to nudge this choice making architecture is the key to the future. Yeah. So yeah, that's all from my side, and I would love to hear your questions and your views. Okay, I don't know if we don't have any questions. I'm sure there would be many, and feel free to ask me.
Yeah. Hi, ma'am. Where's the side? Am I audible?
Yes, you are perfectly.
So thank you so much, first of all, for enlightening all of us with your presentation, and especially sharing that example of yours in the beginning. It actually speaks about the relevancy of sustainability, that organizations are actually now realizing the worth, and also they are coming up with ways to motivate people to follow it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was great insight. So ma'am, my question is, since you talked about the customer preferences and a shift in customers' choices with respect to especially food products or packaged products to a more greener, more environment friendly or organic products.
Mm-hmm.
But since I'm doing my master's in sustainability management, so we come across cases of greenwashing, how companies, are luring customers just by labeling their products as greener, as sustainable. So ma'am, do you think that there are ways to cope up this, like ESG indexes or ESG ratings could play a vital role in balancing this?
Definitely. That's a very good question, in fact. Thank you. So, there is this greenwashing, and there are so many examples which are striking my mind at this point of time too. So, the equation to crack greenwashing is transparency and accountability. When the companies are disclosing how green they are, especially in terms of indicators and sub indicators, this is my water footprint, this is my carbon footprint. How do you, I mean, the ability of a third party or a consumer to relate and to triangulate that data or the disclosure is something which bothers me at times. That how do I trust those data sets? What if it is fudged? So, and here comes the importance of sustainable governance. There are third parties which are heavily into auditing those green datas and disclosures, and that's what builds the web of trust. So, and in fact, on this earth, you would think, I mean, what comes to your mind when I say a green country, a very sustainable green country? Probably Iceland and probably Norway, right? But do you know that why Norway? Why did I say Norway? So there's a catch. So Norway, I mean, you would have seen those videos on World Economic Forum that Norway has the highest fleet of Tesla. Like every guy owns a Tesla today. It's the electronic vehicle, and it's green with lush green parks, and people are into organic farming. All the green practices on earth basically is present in Norway. But do you know that Norway today is driven by an oil economy? They're rigging oil in the ocean, selling it, and they're not even diluting like 1% in their economy. But then all of this EV and Tesla and green consumerism in Norway is actually greenwashing, right? So yeah, so nobody has the silver bullet to solve it, but we're all trying.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you always for your question. But I would request everyone present in the webinar, if they have any question, please write your questions in the chat box.
I can see a question which is saying that we have to highlight sustainable options through a customer's purchasing journey, simplify sustainable choices, and educate consumers and disclose environmental costs. That's absolutely right. So that's what we said, that, when it comes to making choices, big or small, it, you have to trace it, like where are the consumers present on that curve of sustainable maturity today. If they are at a very nascent stage, how do you take them a step ahead, not towards the end of the curve, which is a mature stage that would be maybe possible and feasible in London and in New York, but not in New Delhi or Calcutta or Mumbai, right? So trace that journey of the maturity in terms of what they think, what are the current drivers of preference, whether it's cost. How do you tweak that cost which doesn't repel them? How do you, and that brings down to, doing a sensitivity analysis, probably test it in the market, what works and what doesn't work in terms of cost, in terms of accessibility, in terms of platform. Most of our consumers, Gen Z, who are more aware, intellectually aware and conscious, are present on the, on your e-commerce platform, on your fast commerce platform. So they should be, a lot of ownership and owners goes back to Blinkit and Swiggy and Zomato. And you would see they are constantly tweaking their marketing strategy, their operations and supply chain. So Swiggy or Zomato's, I don't remember clearly which one, but they have lately started with, they used to be a very plastic driven packaging platform when you would order food, but now they are switching to more sustainable resources. They are moving to paper-based recyclable material for packaging food. In fact, they are taking to containers. So you order food and it comes in a plastic container which can be used, and you can give them back. You can clearly give them back, redeem your points, and probably get your money back as well. And so this is the creativity we are seeing, but again, it's at a pilot scale. It's important that the companies start to think on how do you scale it up and make it to 100%, reach to almost all the cities. Currently, this tiffin box system with Swiggy or Zomato is only present in your few metropolitan cities in India. And yeah. We still have a lot of time. I would be happy if you would feel free to, come and share your thoughts maybe, and probably share your questions as well. Hi, Priya. Thank you for your question, which is, what is the significance of price factor in nudging consumers towards sustainable solution? And here, nobody has the silver bullet or the right equation to fit into your question. So it's very dynamic. So, it really depends on the socio-economic context we are talking about. If you are talking about a city in the West or developed economy, if it is London or New York or Singapore, so people are ready and willing to pay a premium of say 20% on their food if it is more environment friendly and it has less of carbon footprint. People do pay it. But when you talk about geographic economies, especially in India and southeastern economies, in India and China and Africa, even like a 1% deviation or an inflation in price can deter consumers to a great extent, and which is a deterrent for company. And the answer to to crack this equation is, again, comes back to education. You have to to defeat this price barrier for the companies to make it. You need large demand of those sustainable products, and it only comes when you have more aware consumers, more educated consumers who are constantly being nudged and being informed. So yeah, and that's where your strategy on marketing, where strategy on your advertisement, strategy on your partnerships comes in place. And look at Maggie. If you would remember, Maggie had a beautiful advertisement about this, and in fact runs a whole full-fledged program on Hildari movement. And Hildari is basically, they said that it's hard to collect waste, especially plastic waste from rough terrains and Himalayas, for example, Dehradun and Ladakh and Shimla and Manali. It's very tough. Those are difficult terrains, and municipalities has been struggling to collect your plastic waste. And Maggie partnered with those cities, with those municipalities and NGOs, and they started helping, on how do we collect back waste. So that brings them in such a good light and such a good picture. If they're, if they are, so it's still not tweaking the product. Maggie still comes in a plastic packaged wrapping, but then the other side, if you are in a manner doing something else, because if you tweak your plastic packaging, say if Maggie decides to bring a paper packaging, that might in fact give a raise to the price of Maggie, and you wouldn't appreciate that at all. And then the company also fears, right? If I bring in a paper packaged Maggie packet, and the other ramen or the noodle company is still doing this plastic packaged product, and they are still at 10 rupee while I have to increase it at 13 rupee because I'm more sustainable, that doesn't work. That might offset consumers. In fact, you wouldn't like to pay 3 rupees extra. You would still be comfortable with choosing a top ramen, right, which is still at 10 rupee and still comes with the plastic package. So no, Maggie didn't tweak the product. I agree, it makes sense, but they went and took the social and environment responsibility in a different sphere, in a different space. And it also, for a consumer like me who loves Maggie, I would still go for Maggie, which comes in a plastic wrapped product, because of so many reasons. But I have a certain kind of loyalty to the company because I know that they're collecting a lot of plastic waste in a geography which is very sensitive and which is quite important to us. Yes, Priya. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do we have any more questions from the participants? We have enough time left for participants to share their questions and opinions about the topic.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a question. It can be your any thought if you have in your mind. Feel free to type it out, speak it out. Okay, I think I missed a question. I think it was around the way we nudge the consumers. So, which reminds me about a very personal incident from my own life. So, when it comes to nudging, I would say it's easy to nudge a child, but a difficult task to nudge an adult who is supposedly more educated, more aware. So I hail from a village which is inside a national park in one of our states. And so I have these kids in my village, and I saw that people in that state are still used to eating wild animals, which is a concern, right? And the consumption of wild animals, say a wild hen or a wild rabbit or a wild hare or a wild boar, is not sustainable. They are already in the less red book, the endangered species category. So, and I tried convincing to a couple of people who were more grown up, and talking to them about how you shouldn't be eating those wild hens and rabbits, and that it is not so sustainable, and it would deter your value chain, the food chain, and probably your food web can collapse because of your food consumption habit. And they wouldn't take my words at all that seriously. But I happen to have interacted with a lot of kids, a segment of kids in a school, and I made them understand that if you eat a wild hen, you are leaving no food for the wild dogs, for the wild foxes, which means you are not leaving enough food for maybe the carnivore on top of that food chain, which means, you know, you are disturbing the whole food cycle, and which means that you are disturbing your economy, because the whole village thrives because you have tourists coming from other places. And if you do all of this, probably it's us who would be paying the cost in the longer run. And somehow I saw the shift coming in picture for the kids in a more easy way. They were very acceptable of that fact. No, 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 this is wrong. They got emotional that, no, if it is killing my favorite tiger in the jungle, that's not the right thing to do. And in fact, they would be convincing their parents today that we shouldn't be hunting wild hens and wild rabbits. This is not good for our earth. This is not good for our forest. In fact, we are here to protect them. So you see, it's all about education, and education is important for, I guess, for all the segments of when it comes to age specifically, but education is all the more important when it comes to the younger population, the children, children and the youth, who would be the responsible consumers and citizens for tomorrow. So it's very important that the companies start realizing and segmenting, you know, their strategies on how they approach a segment of consumer. It cannot be a universal strategy. That's not exactly how you should crack this equation. It has to be tailor made. It has to be tailor made according to the emotions and neediness of the consumer segment. So yeah, it's tricky. At the same time, it needs a lot of people. People creativity, and I really hope that, you know, you take something away from this webinar and from our conversation today, and tweak other people's behavior, the way they consume, and probably the way they consume and the intensity which for their consumption, and probably consume less instead of consuming sustainable maybe.
Thank you for sharing your experience, Ishita. I had one question, like not question. It is something that I have experienced personally. Like today, as you said, Gen Z is the most concerned generation of people, like who are very motivated to promote sustainability. I myself belong to that generation, and I believe in that. But a lot of people in Gen Z are like not. They are not doing this because they are concerned about environment, but they just want to jump on the bandwagon that they are also nice people, they are doing things for nature. And like mostly people who begin their journey of becoming vegan, they don't do this because they want to help the environment or the other species inhabiting in our
Mhm.
planet, but they do it because they want to show themselves as the posh people who are doing these kinds of things. So what is the, like not all, I am also Gen Z and I promote sustainability because that is what I believe in. I do work for sustainability and causes because that is what I believe in. So not everyone in Gen Z is like that, but there are few people like that. So what companies can do to change their mindset? Because this thing then takes the sustainability very far from normal people.
So if I got your question right, I think if you are doing good things without even knowing the actual intent of it, the actual value in it, it's good. At least you are doing the good thing, right? So if most of the Gen Zs are turning vegan just because it's in the trend and fashionable, and we all want to flow with the trend, it's actually good. It's actually good. I mean, maybe later in their life, they will realize that they were doing the good things and continue doing it and probably preach it. So I don't see a issue or a trouble there. What, in fact, in fact, you know, uh, you would see that sustainable products or vegan products, you know, carbon friendly products are more in fashion when it comes to the elite population, the wealthy population, the rich segment. And that is exactly where the companies need to start thinking that the elite population does it because it's trendy and also because the premium isn't hurting their pockets. But how do you make that range of product accessible for the rest, for a middle class, for probably a middle class, which is the thickest class in the Indian economy? So there is all the effort which is required. So I don't care. Companies don't care if people are doing just because it's trendy. It's good for them. It's good for the earth. So good for all of us.
Thank you for your answer, Ishita. Do we have any more questions or anything that the audience would like to share? If not, I guess then we can wrap up the session.
Sure.
Okay. I, on the behalf of Nisarg Foundation, would like to express our sincere gratitude to Ms. Ishita Aryan for sharing her expertise and journey on the path of circular economy with us. She started with talking about the importance of consumers' preferences and how drivers of preferences are dynamic and contextual, how lifestyle preferences of consumers are changing in favor of sustainability, and the innovative ways in which the companies are accommodating or trying their best to accommodate these changes. But still, despite the mutual value um, on both sides, the consumers and organizations show weakness in their thinking and approach, and how this issue can be resolved. We took the note of everything that Ms. Ishita shared with great interest, and the audience surely has, I guess, surely has gained a lot of insights on the theme. We would also like to thank our audience for making it an enriching session. Uh, and we look forward to continuing this session webinar beyond this event. And I would like to invite Daisy to share a few words of thanks for Ishita.
Thank you, Bhumika. So first of all, I'd like to extend my gratitude to Ishita for her time and presence in this webinar session. It was quite amazing hearing you speak about matters that really motivate us and makes us more interested to learn and to grow from others' experiences. And I'd like to thank you for all the time and your efforts in being here in this webinar session. Thank you so much, Ishita.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you, Bhumika. And thank you, Nisarg, for this wonderful opportunity and moreover for leading the cause of, talking about it just makes it's a big statement for all of us. We are at least discussing it, and which increases the overall awareness and it makes us think, right? And that's all we need, for us to think before making a consumption, before making a choice. So yeah.
Yes, we completely agree, and thank you so much. I'd also like to thank our participants for being till the end of this session. I'd like to remind you all that tomorrow is our last session for the webinar series. Please do join in so that we have another session full of learning and understanding what's going around us and how we can contribute towards the cause. So I request you all, and I hope that I'll see you all tomorrow as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you.